A very good afternoon to you and welcome to yet another exciting edition of your favorite business development program on Radio Masterclass. Masterclass is powered by Joy Business and brought to us by Goyle. Goyle, good energy. Goyle, Yenara, Yedia. Masterclass comes your way every Wednesday at 1:30 p.m. and runs all the way through to 2:15 p.m. here on your superstation Joy 99.7. My name as always is Yaw Barnafo and I'm glad to be your host for today's edition of Masterclass. Last week we started a different conversation in the area of mental health. And mental health, we said in that conversation, is such a broad topic that we try and restrict our conversation to the area of the workplace. What are some of the things that happen in the workplace that affects our mental health? At one point or the other, we all are affected in our mental health in one way or the other. We had with us in the studio a very wonderful, renowned Ghanaian who is well versed in that area. And for those of us who missed the show, I'll just share her CV or her resume again, so we know who we're dealing with in the studio. Very well renowned, very wealthy in experience. She's the founder of the Crossbridge Consult Limited. She's an author. She's also a founding member of the Africa Institute of Thinking and Innovation. She's an organizational psychologist and a Gestalt practitioner with over 25 years of experience in entrepreneurial development, entrepreneurial behavior, and organizational behavior, as well as organizational development. She's also a board member and a member of the Organizational Center Ghana and a faculty member. She's also a member of the following institutions: the West Africa Network of Peace Building, Ghana, the New Crystal Health Services, Africa Institute of Executive Thinking and Innovation, UNCTAD International Trainer for Entrepreneurial Behavior. She has an Associate Master's for Organization, Systems and Development, and also from the Gestalt Institute of Cleveland, 2005-2006. She has an MPhil in Organizational Psychology from the University of Ghana. She's a certified ILO trainer for productivity improvement in the workplace. She's also a certified trainer for Emprotech systems, and she has a postgraduate from the University of Management Studies in Netherlands. She's written books like Don't Lie to Me, Pause, Change is Here, Next Level Thinking, Entrepreneurship. She also has experience in various OD interventions in Ghana, in Mexico, in Ireland, in Hungary, for the AU Commission in Nigeria and South Africa. And over the years, she's helped train over 10,000 entrepreneurs in different African countries on entrepreneurial behavior. My guest for this afternoon here on the show to talk about mental health at the workplace is Akosua Agyeman Mark-Okai. Akosua, you're welcome back to today's conversation.
Thank you.
Indeed. I got a lot of feedback from last week's conversation. Last week, essentially, what we did was to introduce the conversation on mental health, what it is, what it's not, what some of the synonyms that we throw about mental illness, mental wellness, and all of those things. And you clearly showed us the distinction between those terminologies. Perhaps we'll just do a quick recap, if you will, of last week. And today's conversation, for those of us who like to take notes, will be going into the causes, and the warning signs, the symptoms of mental health at the workplace. When we get interactive at some point in the show, we want you to pick up that phone, give us a call, send us your comment on a number that we will announce. For those who also like to follow for flow of thought, we have some slides. Akosua has obliged us a couple of slides, so we'll be streaming those slides on Facebook, and we'll also be streaming the show live on Facebook for those who want to follow. So by all means, stay with us and pick up a phone, call someone, tell them Masterclass is on radio, and we can all be better for it. So let's do a quick recap, if you will, and then we go straight into today's conversation.
So good afternoon to everybody. From all the feedback that I got, this is really a loud cry out there for people who are overwhelmed. So last week, what we did was to talk about total wellness, the fact that total wellness is about being physically well, mentally well, emotionally well, spiritually well, and socially well. Then we said that we defined wellness as the ability to cope when you thought about thresholds with life in spite of disappointments and frustrations. And then we said that mental wellness is not the opposite of mental illness, where there are disorders and you need medical interventions, diagnosis, therapy, and medications, and so on. Then a key point was that problems are normal, and so they are not exceptions. So when problems come along, don't panic. You are either going to go into a problem, you're in a problem, or you're just coming out of it. So
I like that.
just, chill and know that it's
Either
normal.
ways, you're close to something
Exactly.
that you have to deal with.
And the point is that you just have to learn how to cope. If you can't solve it today, you have the capacity to solve it later on. All right, and then of course we said that for sustainability of organizations, we need quality people. You can only have quality people when they can cope with the rapid changes that are going on. And so to be able to stay ahead in your field, you need to have people who are mentally well or have mental wellness. And I did say, and I'm just repeating this because of the calls that we got. The Center for Workplace Mental and Emotional Wellness is what our organization is called.
Right.
So it's workplace mental and emotional wellness. However, if you want to call on a personal basis, it's not related to the workplace, we will direct your clinical psychologists who are certified and licensed by the Ghana Psychological Council will direct you to which institution they think best that, and some are private and some are public. Right. So we are concerned with the stitch in time, prevention.
Get in there before something goes wrong.
Exactly, and teaching you how to be a first line intervention until if you think you're still not able to do that. And that's why we encourage people to come to the workshops. We have full day workshops. So by the time you leave, you actually have a plan of of your strategies and how to cope with whatever. You actually go through a coaching process. And we have one on the 18th of February. All right. So we partner with organizations to educate, assess, and provide training about mental wellness in the workplace. Because somebody asked the last time about what we do in the workplace. So employees are helped whose performance is affected negatively because they are overwhelmed, all right, with various issues. And then we train employees on coping strategies so that performance is increased, and it's very important at this time. And then we actually provide a mental wellness index and deliver the relevant interventions. And lastly, we set up wellness units in workplaces. Some people actually have wellness units. So we train an employee who is related to that and then set up and then show you the processes as to where to. So that is it. Now, recap of last week was what I just said about the what and the whys. Today we're going to concentrate on the causes. Okay. Now, this again has become critical because of all the turbulence that's going on in Ghana. I mean, everybody has to be equipped to be able to cope. The changes are uncertain. We don't know what's happening the next day. We have to cope. Everybody is becoming wild on the road, there's outrage.
It's also rapid. And it's, like you said, uncertain. It's rapid. Yeah. It's ever-changing, and
it's new for us. Yes. It's new for us. And most people don't have the coping strategies to deal with this fast pace. So everyone, it would be good if you could take a piece of paper and just take some notes. But remember that no matter what you are going through, somebody else is going through also. So it's common. Okay.
Take solace in the fact that you're not alone.
Yes, and that there are solutions to this. All right. This one too shall pass.
Somebody say, "Why me?"
Remember, why not you?
Why not you?
And that there are other people who are going through it. It's not just you. It's just that you don't know. So we did say that we are the determinants of how we react to anything. And you remember last week I talked about, because of my perceptions of two different people, they'll say the same thing, but I'll come to different conclusions.
Yes.
So, as workers or employees, it's important for us to have quality perceptions. And I think it was you who asked, oh, what if I have 200 workers and so on? So today we'll talk about how we can create a work environment that will enhance mental wellness. All right, so quality perceptions leads to a quality mindset. So your mind is set in a certain direction, and then you make quality decisions because you are thinking quality or quality thinking. And remember, I said that we see through our eyes, but we see with our minds. Now, if I told you now,
Please say that again slowly.
we see through our eyes, but we see with our minds. Let me demonstrate this. If you're in class, I mean, it'll be very easy, but let's try and do this. Now, if I said to you, Yaw, be afraid, be afraid, be afraid, you'll be asking me, be afraid of what? But I'm telling you, be afraid. But you are not moved, you are not reacting. Now, if I said, Yaw, don't turn around, there's a snake behind you. Don't turn, it's raising its head. You see how you are reacting? Because I'm giving you pictures.
Exactly.
And so I haven't even said be afraid, though.
The inflections in your voice.
Exactly.
You're transmitting the feeling and the emotion to me.
Exactly. And I haven't even used the word be afraid, but now you're beginning to think maybe I should be careful, and so on and so forth. So it is your mind that interprets whatever you see. But I had a lovely feedback from somebody, and I can't mention his name because I haven't asked his permission. But he said, when I listened to this, I heard through my ears, but heard with my mind. And I thought that was fantastic. I heard through my ears, but I heard with my mind.
You know, just to elaborate the point you're making, have you noticed that sometimes when you're in a general space, and for example, you find everybody, let's say you're walking into a mall, and you see everybody running in the opposite direction. For some reason, most often than not, you would initially ask what's going on, and when nobody's minding you and everybody's running past you, you would most inadvertently turn around and run out as well.
Yeah.
But that's your mind interpreting.
Yes,
what's
I mean,
going on,
that's
isn't it?
group think, what we call group think, where everybody's doing something. You think, okay, I'm the only one. You see how we are social beings, and it affects all this sort of thing. And so we tend to go with the crowd, so that just in case if everybody thinks something's wrong, I better join them too.
And it's such a powerful thing. It's like whenever we have to make a certain decision, we're looking at the next person. Okay, why are they sitting down?
Because we are very, very particular about how people think about us, and we are territorial, and we guard our territory. So, for example, if you came into a training course and you sat in second seat, first row. Now, the likelihood that you'll sit there again the second day is very high. In fact, if the person you sat with is your friend, or you had some kind of connection, when somebody's come to sit there, the person will say, yeah, is sitting here. But you just came yesterday.
The seat is taken.
Yes, you only came yesterday. But we create territories, which is not bad because it gives us safety, but it doesn't make us thrive. You have to take risks to be able to thrive, And again, our minds, every time it sits on a chair, you just sit on a chair. Because your mind has told you that sitting on chairs are safe. Can you imagine if every time we have to sit and we have to test it and so on and so forth, But your mind is such an efficient machine that sometimes it's so efficient, but it gives you the wrong answers. And we call that a hijack, an amygdala hijack. But we'll talk about that another time. So you cannot underplay the power of the mind.
We always say that the mind is such a powerful thing. This example.
In fact, it's the most powerful.
Powerful thing. This example you give about the chair. And I always get into this discussion with my friends who handle risk in our operations and our corporates, and I tell them, you talk about risk and this is going to happen and fire and all that and all that. When you sat down this morning, did you check your chair before you but I suppose it's the power of the mind we're referring to here, isn't it?
And you see, your mind has the conscious and the subconscious. So when the conscious does the analysis and it's okay, it goes into the subconscious and it stays, and then it becomes a habit.
Right.
And so you begin to move automatically. You don't analyze. And indeed, using the snake again, if yesterday there was a snake lying on the floor here when you came in, today if you came in and saw some object that looks
like a belt
or something, immediately you think it's a snake. That's the efficiency. You're closing the gaps. You need to move fast. Your mind is efficient, super efficient. And then later on you realize, no, it's only a belt, But at that time, all the chemicals and organs and muscles that you need to be able to run away from it has been,
They deploy.
Yes. And if from there you realize that, okay, it wasn't a snake, then they all go back to normal. Your body is an instrument of balance. Everything is balanced. God made us in such a... So when there is imbalance or dissonance, we try to do everything to go back into balance. That is why when somebody tells you that, oh, this man is a very bad man, and you meet the guy and he's a nice guy, now you are conflicted as to whether to trust what your friend said or trust what you're experiencing. But that's another story. So, going back to this, for those of you on Facebook, you will see that there is SAD. What it means is what I've shown with the arrow. And you can see that stress happens. If it goes on for a long time, you get anxiety disorders of different shades and, types. And the further you get depression and all the other things that come with it. We are dealing with the stress part at the workplace, okay? So let's look at some of the causes that happen at the workplace to the individual, okay? So we'll take the individual first. And we talked about it slightly last time, but I'm doing a bit more detail. Now, somebody comes to work. He comes with all the baggage that he's carrying, from home, from any accidents that he got, from traffic, from his children.
From someone who said an unkind word in the morning, a harsh word.
So he arrives at work and he's slightly late, and somebody says, good morning. He says, what's so good about this morning? Because as far as I'm concerned, nothing good has been going on. All right? Now, the skill is to be able to manage all these things that are going on with us in our personal lives, but at the same time to perform. Okay? So let's look at some of the causes that can give us or put us in this position. One is a loss of control. Once we feel we do not have control over a situation, it makes us panic because you don't know how to deal with it. You've lost that control. And you can see this very often in change management when people are resisting, or what we call in Gestalt, we say that people do not resist. What they do is that they are telling you, I don't understand what is going on.
React.
So the losses you're thinking about, maybe they have some Wachi friend in that department. You are moving, that Wachi connection is cut off. And that person would want to keep, because it's a connection that they've made, So loss of control, sometimes also death or divorce or family turmoil is going on, and then the person comes to work and is not able to handle things. And I experienced this. I lost my husband a couple of months ago. And I think of myself as a fairly, strong individual. But I realized that, simple things would just trigger me off, and I'm crying and saying, hey, what's going on? So I had to apply the same things that I teach to myself to be able to, but it is a process. So let's not think of them as events. So death, divorce, family issues, the uncertainty we are talking about, today is this, tomorrow is that, you can't plan. And then we have insecurity. Job, am I going to lose my job with all these problems that are coming? Companies are laying people off. Am I going to lose my job? Is my lifestyle going to change? What is going to happen to my finance? How am I going to pay my rent, my school fees? All those things, And so fear, which I said last week, is false evidence against reality. Right. False evidence against reality. Fear is into the future. It hasn't happened though. But you are imagining what will happen. I'm going to give a talk. Won't I freeze? Will people understand? Will I be good enough? It hasn't happened. It's false evidence. Even if you failed the last time, this is a new opportunity for you to have improved. And so that can also be a cause.
Would fear in this context be synonymous to worry then?
No, I won't. I mean, they are close, they are cousins, but sometimes we worry not because we are afraid.
I get it.
Because we can worry for all kinds of reasons, but it could be partly because we are afraid. Okay. Right. And then, of course, health issues can also give us this. I call them stress blocks. Right. So now let's look at this one, the pressure to perform as we deliver. And then when we feel we are failing, our self-esteem is threatened.
Yes.
And don't forget that we've packaged ourselves in a certain way at the workplace. So if somebody is talking us down, immediately we want to fight. But of course, the person is your boss. You can't go and slap your boss, you'll be sacked. And you need a job. But again, what I want us to remember, and we'll look at it in the next slide properly, is what is going on inside you and which gives you the problems. And then, of course, our perception is challenged, but we forget that there are multiple realities. There's a minimum of 4 ways of seeing things. Minimum
of 4 ways?
Yeah, so why do you think you are right? So you have to be able to convince me that yours is the right way, but there's a minimum. 8 ways of viewing things. And then, of course, we don't have the necessary coping strategies. We've talked about loss in terms of being, or that's one we talked about already. And of course, the stigma and discrimination that we feel even when we reach out for help.
It's like you're weak.
Yes. And people begin to stop associating with you. And instead of supporting and encourage you, they kind of shun you and move away from you.
Because you're unable to operate like everyone else.
Exactly. And even when you've gone for help and you're okay, now to reintegrate, people are looking at you from the corner of, it's like we say that when somebody is mad, there's always a little bit for the person to demonstrate, so we don't accept that easily. And of course, the usual financial problems.
Yeah.
Yes. So that's the individual causes.
Right.
That could, let you go through this. Now
and these are everyday things that happen.
Exactly. See, that's a danger. They are everyday things, routine things. And so it's not like a few are, of course, major events, but these are everyday things, and they build and build and build until they crash if we don't do anything about it. Right. Okay, so if you look at the workplace also, sometimes people call us and say, "Oh, we want a team building thing," and you go in and you find it's not about team building. The people don't even have job descriptions, so they don't even know they don't know what their boundaries are. They don't know what is expected of them, and so on and so forth. So non-aligned job descriptions, designs, the control span is very tight. The person can't make decisions and so on and so forth. It's all part of the pressure that builds up. Some people also, is the number of hours they're working overtime and so on and so forth. I remember we went into a company once where the overtime bill was higher than the salaries. So during the day, what were they doing? It had become a tool for them to make more money. So when we shut that down, then they were really, really upset, So we need to be able to upset about overtime, that nobody was going to have overtime unless you had, permission to have overtime. So you have to design that properly and let people understand what the policy is.
If more work is getting anyway, that's another conversation. Like you said.
And then, of course, when we don't have social support, there's no social support within the workplace. I'm having a problem. Who do I go to? How can I trust that person? And so on and so forth. But it's also interesting that even in productivity, we have what is called the Hawthorne effect, where if all of you are producing a certain number of products, if one person is going far ahead of everybody else and is being praised, the rest of the people find a way of punishing that person. Like they go to lunch, they won't, associate with the person, or and so on. So then the person lowers, because
you
the sense of belongingness is very important to us.
I think it's very serious. I'm sure that has to go along, because it happens to a lot of people. I mean, I've had my personal experiences where at some point you are pressured to cut back so you can fit in.
Exactly.
But it's wrong.
And that's why you must design your reward systems in such a way that you are compensating for people who are, doing individual work and performing very well, and the team also. Otherwise...
So training, what to do? Are you the only one here?
Yes.
You want them to think that
and the person can't go on like that forever, So we need to be careful about work design. And of course, the work and family imbalance also is a problem. Then the lack of health support. Some companies have no policy on health. Thank God for national insurance. Otherwise, most people don't even have an insurance of any sort for their employees. And then it's very important that the people who work in the workplace have to perceive that this company is a company where there's fairness and there's justice and there's no discrimination. That helps with commitment and trust, and teamwork. But if they don't think that, you think you discriminate and so on and so forth, forget it. But it causes pressure and stress.
I'm smiling because I'm sure we'll get interactive. And lots of my colleagues will say they don't feel like fairness exists within the context of their...
And you have to know how to manage that.
But I suppose that in that conversation, things like perspective and perception would come to play.
Yeah.
Because again, we're seeing with our minds.
Yes. But sometimes they are even real because of the way the people behave. But if I'm in that space, how do I get it not to affect me so that I become stressed? The other person is not stressed, but I'm stressed. You see, so how do I manage that?
Exactly.
And then another cause at the workplace is that when there's a lack of recognition, and you do things and nobody appreciates it, and especially the what we call a flossy. Flosses in organizations are those where everybody knows, oh, well, Amma, if you give her, she'll do your work for you. So everybody keeps piling things, and Amma doesn't know how to say no, doesn't put any boundaries, and Amma never gets promoted. You see, because she's doing other people's work for them and everybody, she gives the impression that she can't manage. She's overwhelmed. She's always having to stay late. And so she doesn't get promoted, and she's there, and everybody's taking advantage of her. So what are the coping mechanisms? Is to learn how to say no, and that I can do so much, but not so much, Then last but one is of course, the demands of the new behaviors we need in this new normal. The way we behave is changing at work, but we still have to perform. And how do we do that? And of course, when the job does not give you financial security or job security, it also gives. So this is how, or the causes that can, make or let people have low mental wellness, either from the individual or from the workplace. And I think last week somebody asked about how you can create a work environment that was not toxic. So these are some of the things that you need to pay attention to. And even as I went through this, I forgot to say that people should be thinking about, am I part of the causes? Because you might be stressing somebody out by the way you behave.
By not collaborating, by being necessarily difficult about your part of the process.
Yes. So we'll have some homework to do, when we finish.
Right.
All right. So all these causes that's happening at the workplace and with the individual come together and culminate in stress. So here's this person carrying this heavy burden on their back. If you remember the picture of Atlas with the world on his back, and you see how crouched he is as he goes up the hill. And most of us are like that.
I like that.
Now, when these stresses come up, the personal one, we've looked at it, the workplace one, and of course other life challenges that come from other angles, and the fact that we don't have enough coping strategies, all of them come together. And that is when we start saying, I'm stressed out. And that's a good thing, because you notice that you're stressed out.
You're beyond your capacity to cope.
Exactly. You've crossed the threshold. And you don't feel mentally well.
So then you've lost control also. You feel like you've lost control.
Exactly. Now, when this happens, and this is what makes it dangerous, is the reactions that your body is going through. Because stress, you begin to regard it as a threat. Your natural or intuitive reaction is to fight or fly or flight. Like somebody saying running and flying at the same time. But once you end up, can you imagine if, when you're going to run, and before you run, you're all tensed up, ready to hear the
sound of the gun.
The sound of the gun. But imagine if you were in that position for hours.
That would be uncomfortable.
Very uncomfortable. But that's what we do to our bodies unconsciously. So what happens is that when this thing is stress, or you're defining it as stress, and you're ready to fight or fly, the heart begins to beat very fast.
Your body is also giving you signals.
Yes. To help you to fight. You see? So your heart is ready for action. It's beating faster. Your muscles are tightened. Okay? And your blood pressure rises. You are breathing faster. You need more oxygen. In fact, your blood moves from your stomach organs to your head. So you're starving your organs of oxygen and all this, just to concentrate for you to tackle the situation.
Right. And the body will pool its resources to the places
exactly. And your senses are also sharpened. So you were in a meeting last week and had a showdown with somebody. You did not resolve
those issues. Yes.
Those issues. Every time, so now this person becomes a threat in your mind. Every time you see him, your body goes into this.
Whether you know it or not.
It does. And we're going to see what it releases and why it becomes serious. And that is why we must learn how to have coping strategies to stop us. Most of the diseases that we're having are an accumulation of this over the years. Okay? So we go into this stance, and what is happening is that cortisol, I mean, a whole lot of other things happening, but the cortisol and adrenaline
Negative hormones are released.
are released, and these hormones are supposed to be released and then, or chemicals released and then go off and you settle back to normal. But because you are carrying this thing on and on, you put yourself in this prolonged state of cortisol adrenaline affecting your organs, your muscles, and your immune system. Your autoimmune system is also affected. So you realize that some of the symptoms, and I think last week somebody asked, what the thinking is frequent headaches, neck pain, pains you can't explain, and so on and so forth, because of inflammation. And your immune system is also being reduced.
All because of these negative hormones. Please
And all, no, not all because you have not properly perceived with something which you define as stress.
Right.
So you're going to work, I have a stressful workplace. You have already decided before you arrived. And so your body is already going into action.
Into that place.
To deal with this stress.
Hold that thought for me. Mental health at the workplace here with Akosua Agyeman Mark-Okai. If you've just tuned in, this is Masterclass here on your superstation, Joy 99.7. We'll take a quick break for our sponsors. When we come back, we get interactive.
Bro, in 30 minutes, the game begins. And you know, say, I always do on the safe side. That be why I always win when I bet.
My guy, you always want to be on the safe side. But for me, I'm bold and my courage allows me to go in for the underdogs. Watch out.
Charlie, you guys, they rush. As for me, I'm always skeptical about these games. So I don't rush, but go in for a draw. Game on! Yusuf, we won't be your vibe. With SoccerBet, get the best odds and stand a chance to win up to 1 million Ghana cedis. SoccerBet, your best bet for sports betting. This advertisement has been vetted and approved by the Gaming Commission of Ghana. Bet responsibly. Gaming can be addictive, not for persons below 18 years.
Welcome back. If you've just tuned in, this is Masterclass here on your superstation, Joy 99.7. We're talking about mental health at the workplace here with Akosua Agyeman Mark-Okai. Phone lines are now open. Numbers to call 03022165541. That's 03022165541. You can also send us your comments on 05511119997. That's 05511119997. Pick up that phone, give us a call on 03022165541. If you have a motor vehicle of any kind, Goyle, your oil company of choice, keeps making life ever so convenient. Goyle now accepts Momo for all fuel purchases. Just remember to Momo it at Goyle. Goyle, good energy. Goyle, Yenara, Yedia. Today's edition of Masterclass is brought to us by Goyle. Goyle, good energy. Goyle, Yenara, Yedia. Phone lines are open. Numbers to call 03022165541. That's 03022165541. Pick up that phone. Send us a message on 05511119997. Maybe we could share the rest of the content while waiting for the phone lines to ring.
Okay, so I was talking about cortisol.
Right.
And what happens is that when cortisol goes into the blood, it increases glucose because you need more energy to be able to fight or or run, and it narrows the arteries so that the blood can be pumped with greater force to where it's needed. All right. Now, if all this is going on over a prolonged period, because this A is a stressor, B is a stressor, the whole day you are stressed out, and this is going on and goes on for weeks and months and so on, what you're doing is increasing your risk of a heart attack.
Wow. And all this goes on in your
stroke.
body just because some stressor.
You perceived wrongly, or you made something a stressor. So it's very important for us to know the consequences of what will happen in the long run if we do not manage these things that happen at the workplace, either from us or the environment of the workplace.
Then we must make it a conscious effort that regardless of what's going on around us, we minimize our perception of it and therefore its interpretation as...
No, you don't minimize your perception. You will have your perception, but your perception must be positive. You know, I was reading about this guy who got robbed on the streets of London. And he said, that's interesting. I've never been robbed. Compared with somebody who'd go into
Wailing and rolling on
wailing
the
and
floor.
panic and all that sort of thing. He says, now I know how it feels to be robbed. You have to find a way of diffusing it and carrying on, It's not, you are not in denial. You accept it, but you choose.
But you're coping better.
Yes. Your coping strategies is a matter of choosing amongst alternatives. Okay.
Interesting.
So, the effect is negative. We're still talking about the cortisol. As the high sugar levels in your blood deprive other cells of functioning properly. Meanwhile, you're walking around, you think there's nothing going on. And they crave for energy, so they send signals. And this time, I'm talking about your stomach. Remember, the blood has been sent to, this is not a time for you to be hungry. This is a time for you to run, So the energy goes into and sends signals from your brain of hunger and making you eat more. So you see that people say, when I'm stressed, I put on weight.
This is what's actually going on.
That's what's going on.
You're depleting your resources so fast that the
Yes.
body is sending.
Yes.
Wow.
So it's telling your brain you're hungry. So eat. And of course, the more you eat, you put on weight, and the excess glucose is stored as fat.
And the rest continues.
Yeah.
All from stress.
Perception
Perception.
and interpretation.
Wow.
Then your immune system is also affected and increases the risk of cancer. Maybe that's why we have so much cancer now. People say, how come all of a sudden everybody has cancer? There's too much stress in the system. And we don't know how to cope. So for a prolonged period, I mean, there's a complicated, way of it. But the simple fact is that it increases your risk of cancer. And
I think I have a caller on the line. Good afternoon. You're welcome to Masterclass. Your name and where you're calling from.
Hello, sir.
Yes, good afternoon. You're welcome to Masterclass. Your name and where you're calling from.
So this is just to continue, sir.
Right. Good afternoon. Talk to me.
Yeah, your guest has given us a lot of insight. My question is, in this case, do you need to get somebody who will be cycling the workers, even trying to know the mental state?
I think I get the import of his question. Is it within the workspace, based on what we have shared, is it necessary to now get someone whose job it will be to help the mental
yes,
state?
that's how some organizations, partner with us, and others ask us to set units in their workplace. Because next week we are going to actually dwell on the solutions that we ourselves at the individual level can, go up. So I think that shows us enough danger. But just to talk about the warning signs,
Yes.
quickly. If you find yourself overthinking, repeatedly focusing on thinking, on negative thoughts. Remember, I said you have 60 to 70,000 thoughts a day, and about 70% of it is negative. If you keep dwelling on it and repeating it, it has an effect on you. And a lot of experiments on, because we are about 70% water, human beings, and if you keep on speaking to us, it does that. And negativity, your body goes into negativity. And this has been done by Emoto and a lot of other people. And then the warning signs is when you have a problem, you choose to worry, you feel helpless and overwhelmed. That's another warning sign. When you are constantly tired, you can't sleep, you have little panic attacks, miyamashime, and you don't know why. That's a sign. The inability to focus, all these tension, headaches and neck pains and so on and you're not enjoying what you used to enjoy. So you get easily irritable, you have mood swings, you are getting too many accidents, you don't want to go to work, you go into substance abuse, and you feel you are burning out. And we talked about the cardiovascular disease and autoimmune systems, and you find that generally you're not thinking so well.
The quality of your decisions
Begins to go down, because when that happens, one of the chemicals, what it does is to lower your capacity to think properly. That's why it's not good for bosses to make their employees panic and so on and so forth. So I think this should be enough to tell us what we are going to, or give us an idea of what happens when we don't manage our stresses properly, or when we perceive stresses in the wrong
way. Yeah. We have so much more to share. God willing, next week, when we come back, we'll continue in that conversation. And perhaps what we can do is to start with some of the warning signs that happen in the workplace. And then we can continue with our conversation. What should we remember if we forget everything today? And what should we look forward to?
Okay, so what I want you to do, homework. Next week, we are going to talk about solutions and quick tips. But give yourself some homework. Write about any warning signs that you can identify with. The things I said, write them down for yourself. And then also look at yourself and see if people are perceiving you as a cause of stress. All right? So these two things. And then next week, you can think about or listen to the solutions and quick tips and how you can apply this. And I want to state again that on the 18th of February, we are having a full day's workshop. This goes into detail, and you are actually coached on a problem that you have, and you learn how to coach yourself. Okay? So 18th February, if you want to come, you can call me on 0244 219 716. 0244 219 716. And you can go to our website, crossbridgeconsult.org.
Thank you so much. This has been Masterclass here on your Superstation Joy 99.7. We've been sharing some thoughts with Akosua Agyeman Mark-Okai on mental health at the workplace. God willing, same time next week, we come your way with another exciting edition of Masterclass. Thank you for listening.